We heard this was on Van Nuys Boulevard, so it could be also in the Van Nuys, the West Valley area. But this is a driver that's
now
really
on a sidewalk.
On a sidewalk, down into a parking lot. This is a really dangerous situation. This driver has been driving on the wrong side of the road, blowing through stoplights, through intersections. We have seen pedestrians here trying to cross the roadway, having to take a step back because this driver was driving at a very high rate of speed. We also want to point out that at one point during this pursuit, he pulled into a parking lot, a shopping center, and pulled into a space. The officers drew their weapons, and he backed out of the space and is back on the roadway now, going through residential streets as well here. Again, police believe this was a stolen vehicle. At this point, we know it's a black Ford, and LAPD is working this situation right now.
And one who knows just about everything that the LAPD does is current reserve officer, former motor sergeant, former city councilman Dennis Zine. Dennis, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, and here we go with another pursuit in the City of the Angels.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this is quite a wild one, Dennis, as you've seen, going through residential streets here at a very high rate of speed. What's going to be the strategy of officers right now? Oh, wow. This is just almost went through some intersection, and you saw another vehicle there. I'm not sure if there was any sort of an impact there, but makes a quick right turn there. Looks like we almost had a collision there. The strategy,
yeah, it doesn't appear to be any collision at this point. I understand it's a Chevy Volt that he's driving, which is one of those electric gasoline type of cars.
Oh, okay, there you go.
He may have crashed. The tree's in the way. He may have crashed in it. No, he didn't. He escaped that. He's obviously driving a careless, reckless manner. We got airship overhead. There's ground units that surround him. They're not immediately behind him in pursuit. The philosophy now is to give him a little space. Hopefully he'll slow down, maybe leave the car, jump out, run. They'll arrest him that way. But he's definitely driving in a careless manner. I understand it's a stolen vehicle. So if he's been to jail before, he knows the routine, so he'll do everything he can to try and get away, driving in a total careless, reckless manner. And as we know, tonight is Halloween. There'll be kids that are getting out of school. They'll be walking around the neighborhoods. Here he's going through another intersection, going through traffic, making his way through in a very, very dangerous manner. So far, to my knowledge, he has not had any crashes, but he's come very, very close to collisions on this route, wherever he's going. Dennis? In the Sherman Oaks area.
Dennis, if I can just jump in. Bob had said and reported early on that when he was close to officers had their weapons drawn. The LAPD is certainly in the thick of it when it comes to use of force. The Police Commission has just recently reapplied, redesigned the use of force policy. So in this case, what would cause the officers to draw their weapons?
Well, he's a felony suspect. You can draw your weapon, but you're not going to shoot unless your life or someone else's life's in danger, the bottom line. Sometimes drawing the weapons will have the person surrender or give up, take into custody. But in this particular case, with this while driving, this person doesn't want to surrender, doesn't want to give up. They're not going to shoot an individual who's stealing a car. In the old days, they'd probably do that. But with the use of force policy as we have now, they're not going to shoot a GTA suspect. If he runs over somebody, if he kills somebody and continues, then they may utilize deadly force. But they will ram him if they can. They can get close enough. They will do whatever it takes to take him into custody without firing a weapon. They do not want to fire a weapon at a person in a stolen car. It just doesn't rise to that level where you're going to shoot someone.
All right, looks like we're on northbound Van Nuys Boulevard, by the way, approaching Van Nuys. And as you can see, this driver is really hitting the gas here, passing all of these vehicles, and doesn't look like he's obeying a single stop here, a single intersection. He's just simply driving right through it. As we know, Dennis, there's someone here that's actually watching this pursuit, watching for all the infractions here, and they're basically just not. And there he goes, pulls into another parking area here.
Well, what will happen is our media relations has the monitors. They'll be taping this. They'll utilize this to recap what's occurred for the arrest report once he's taken into custody. They can maintain that, utilize that for court. But the way this person's driving, he's probably been in trouble
he comes to a stop right here.
Backing up, and the car.
This is what officer, once again.
And he got in between the dumpster and the officer's car. Dennis, we may be a few minutes. Right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You have a unit right behind him.
This is also very dangerous here. As you can see, there's some pedestrians there on the roadway. and he threads just between the stop traffic there on the wrong side of the street just to get across this intersection, which is at a stop, and then continues on.
He's utilizing every tactic he can, playing dodging with the police cars. But again, overhead, we've got the police chopper. You got your news choppers overhead. He's not going to get away.
Right.
This will go on. Hopefully no one will get injured. There won't be a collision. But this reckless driving could simply cause that because you're in a heavily populated area in Van Nuys. A lot of traffic along this corridor in the Van Nuys area. Now people are getting out of work. You got kids out of school. Wrong side of roadway. He's committing numerous violations. Again, a stolen car, and he doesn't care. He's going to get away. Does he have a past record? Has he been to prison before? He doesn't want to go back. That's all taken into consideration.
Well, and Dennis, when he pulled that Y turn in the parking lot and then was nose to nose with an LAPD black and white, the partner got out of the car, obviously with the weapon in the process of being drawn, and still the guy goes right for them and sneaks between a dumpster and the black and white. So that has to speak to his mentality.
Well, his mentality is obviously totally out of control. I wouldn't be surprised if he's been through the criminal justice system. He may have spent time in jail or prison. So he believes he has nothing to lose. So he'll continue to go on this path. Fortunately, to the motoring public, no one's been hit yet. But again, you've got a lot of people on that roadway. You got a lot of traffic on that roadway.
Okay.
You got a lot of news choppers and the police chopper overhead. So
we should tell you
they'll be following him until he either runs out of energy with the electric volt or he surrenders. But you can tell he's in a heavily populated area with a lot of traffic. And
northbound Sepulveda is that last track here.
Off of Sherman.
From Sherman Way. And as you can see, just intersection after intersection, these are cars that are all stopped. And this person driving this stolen Chevy Volt, according to the LAPD, you can see on the driver's side window there, the arm of the individual there. We know at least one person in this car. And again, driving through yet another intersection. We've seen a number of near accidents, including pedestrians. And at times, this driver goes into these parking areas, and officers aren't able to put a stop to this.
It looks like he may be going,
Sepulveda.
maybe going into those parking areas looking for a place to bail. Then he realizes that that's not a good spot. Maybe I'll just take off and go another direction. If you're just joining us, everybody, it is 3:40. Jeff Michael along with Bob DeCastro. We are about 35 minutes into an LAPD police pursuit in the San Fernando Valley, the Van Nuys area. On the phone with us, former City Councilman Dennis Zine, former LAPD Sergeant, current reserve officer. Dennis, at a point like this, when you're the black and white behind or you're the incident commander on this, what are you hoping this guy doesn't do?
You don't want him to get in a collision. You don't want him to hit a pedestrian. Those are the two key factors. Not hit a pedestrian, not injure an innocent person. That's the key. So they're going to hold their distance. Again, they got eyes overhead with the helicopter. That chopper will stay on this individual until he either crashes or stops or surrenders. They're not going to let him go. He's not going to get away. But the black and whites aren't going to be smothering him as they used to do. They're going to hold their distance. Again, the air unit is fully in charge, broadcasting the location as this man continues to make these crazy maneuvers.
And for all of you at home watching this, and assuming you've not been in this situation, let me tell you, the LAPD helicopter hovers anywhere between 500 and 1,000 feet. And that is low.
Looks like we're reaching a dead end here. Here's a situation where we may come to a stop here.
Comes into
now we've got
them again.
two officers here, and they've got two officers trying to,
and he gets by again, and then head on.
Rams him head on. So now they've got him cornered here on both sides, on all sides. A very dangerous situation here, no doubt. There's smoke coming from the LAPD vehicle.
You see the unit? There we go. There we go.
All right, we're a little bit ahead of you on our video, Dennis, but we want to make sure.
He did an ADW hitting that door with an officer there. So now they're going to get him out of that car.
It's interesting. All the officers have gone to one area here, Dennis.
That's so they don't fire upon one another.
They don't want to crossfire. They do not want to crossfire.
They don't want crossfire. So everybody's from the same side.
They will make sure that it looks like there's a car smoking, maybe on fire. The police car looks like, or the little radiator.
Yeah, looks like it is.
You see smoke coming out of that, but he's still in the car. They've got all the officers at one location, so they don't have a crossfire. It's clear on the side that he's on the driver's side. There doesn't appear anybody at that location. So they will make sure that it's safe and secure, whether he gets out voluntarily or they get him out utilizing some kind of a non-deadly force. And they have a number of items they can deploy to do that.
Well,
so he's going to sit in there. He's not going to get out now. He's stuck. He's not going to leave.
Dennis,
the car's not going to go anywhere.
Wouldn't the first, in this case, once you've bullhorned the guy, once you've tried to use verbal commands, would you second go with tear gas?
No, you're not going to use tear gas in this kind of situation. If Metro response, a SWAT response,
That's true.
Gets to be a standoff situation.
Yeah.
The officers in the black and whites don't have tear gas. They've got a lot of non-lethal devices, but they don't carry tear gas. They carry OC spray,
right.
but with the car windows up, it's not going to have any effectiveness. So it's a standoff right now. You see there's smoke coming out. It looks like it might be the radiator of the police car.
Yep.
Since he doesn't have an engine in front, being the electric car. They've got the beanbag, the one with the green
shotgun. Yeah,
that's a beanbag. So we see he's holding up in the car. They've got deployment there. If he gets out and runs, they will tackle him. Again, the helicopters overhead, and I want to comment on the news choppers. They work in coordination with the LAPD or the sheriff's chopper, or even that Fire Patrol. They work in a great cooperative relationship. You
Dennis,
see him moving around in the car.
Dennis,
yes, go ahead,
let me just interrupt you. It looks like one arm, his right arm up to his head. It looked like he was on the cell phone. Or had something up to his head. Then his arms go down.
So maybe perhaps he's obeying the orders of the officers. We'll see here. By the way, this pursuit termination is at Keswick and Burnett Avenue in Van Nuys. Again, a very dangerous pursuit, very circuitous, went around different areas throughout the San Fernando Valley, Van Nuys, and the Sherman Oaks area. Near collisions that took place. And it finally comes to an end with a head-on collision with one LAPD cruiser here, and they have him pinned now in what seems to be a cul-de-sac almost, or a parking area in an industrial area in Van Nuys.
And when Dennis mentioned that green shotgun, it's a 12-gauge shotgun. It fires, they're known as beanbag rounds. They're actually rolled up and put into shotgun shells. Anywhere between 1 or 2 can be fired at a time. They're about 1 inch to 1.25 inches in diameter. They're filled with lead pellets. I've fired these many times. They can deliver quite a wallop. But Dennis, I don't think they can take out that passenger window. Is that correct?
I don't think it will take out the window. They may try to deploy it, but what they're going to try and do is hold out. Again, they've got like 5 or 6 police cars there with a number of officers, I'm sure supervisors there, directing what they want to do with this individual. He may be on the telephone. It looks like he may be with his hand keep going up to his head.
Right.
But, there was a number of violations he committed, traffic violations, reckless driving. And then when he hit that police car door where the officer was getting out, now you have an ADW on a police officer with him striking that door. I don't know if the officer was injured or not, but he's accumulated himself a number of felony violations, and they're going to continue holding off until they decide bring in SWAT. He's not going to be able to maneuver out of that car. They've got him blocked in the front and the rear, so he's not going anywhere. They just need to extricate him from the car, whether it's going to be with those officers with his cooperation or with Metro coming in with their SWAT operation, where those officers have a lot of different devices at their disposal they can utilize to get him out of the car.
Well, now you've got 2 officers walking fairly casually, staying behind that unit at the bottom of your screen. We just went past it. But it would appear they're not concerned that he would be firing a weapon through the front of the windshield, which leads me to wonder whether or not maybe they have information that he's not armed.
Well, they don't know. He could have one in the car. He could have one on the seat, under the seat. There's no telling. But it's like there's five police cars there. You look at the divisions. They've got West Valley Division. They got Van Nuys Division. The 10 is West Valley. The 9 is Van Nuys.
Yep.
So you got 2 divisions deployed there, along with the helicopter overhead. And they're just going to hold on. The supervisor is going to call the shots to see what they want to do to extricate him from the car, whether voluntary or involuntary.
Well, it's obvious that at this point it doesn't appear that he is listening to the orders of officers, has not gotten out. He's made a number of gestures inside the car. We're going to show you some video from a little bit earlier there on the left-hand side, right-hand side of the screen, rather. You can see this is the driver driving at a high rate of speed, going through the Van Nuys and Sherman Oaks area.
Did you see when he was in the parking lot, as Dennis was talking, he backed up about 300 feet, just a straight back line.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go this
it's
direction.
Almost, he pulls into a Ralph's parking lot, Ralph's grocery store parking lot, presumably maybe to try to get out of the vehicle, thinks he can get away, sees that there are officers there, pulls out, and then backs up all the way.
All right, now the officers have changed their position. They're now coming up as a normal stop would be. They're at the kind of the 12 and 9 position on that car. So you have officers at the top with their weapons trained pointing at the back of the suspect's car. You have officers at the 9 o'clock position pointing through the passenger window. Still not in the line of fire of one another, but tactically, Dennis, a better position to be in.
Well, they're in a good position of safety. As you see, they're deployed. They're protecting themselves using the vehicles, the police cars, as the shield. You've got officers to the rear. You've got officers to the passenger side, utilizing the vehicles for cover. No one's on the driver's side. That would be a position where you're going to get crossfire. So they're holding off at this particular time. They may have Metro en route. They may have SWAT en route. It becomes a barricaded situation where he's barricading himself inside that vehicle and not voluntarily exiting.
Nope,
so
they're approaching the vehicle. They're bashing out the back window, the back passenger window. They're one beanbag round is in the car.
They're firing beanbag rounds into the car.
Now, once again, that's going to subdue that guy. It could make him a lot more angry. All right, this door is now locked. They're going to bash that window in probably as well.
Okay.
If he won't unlock it, there we go. He doesn't have a choice.
Now
They had obviously determined he was not armed. They pull him out. Not putting up a fight.
So the supervisor of the scene has made that call. They're following through with that call. Sufficient officers there to take him into custody, breaking out another window of the car to get him out of the car. Now he's going to be out on the ground, take him into custody, and it's going to be a code 4.
You know, Dennis, just to fill us in, just so we understand, and once again, I go back to use of force because there's a disconnect between what officers know they go through with regard to danger and what the public believes the officers go through. In a case like this, for them to walk up on that car with a baton and smash the back window and then walk toward the car and smash another, what did they have to know before making that move?
Well, the supervisor at the scene gave the command to take out the window, use the beanbag, neutralize the individual, and they did.
Right.
That's a situation up to the supervisor to make that call. The officers wouldn't do that unless the supervisor approved it. I've seen situations in the past where they hold off for SWAT. They don't know if the man's armed or not. I'm sure they did not know whether he was armed or not. It turned out this particular situation ended peacefully as far as no officers injured.
All right.
Into custody, but that was the supervisor's call, and I'm not going to second guess the supervisor.
Of course not.
No.
Dennis Zine, thank you so much for walking us through this and helping us as we showed everybody just the latest pursuit in Los Angeles, this in Van Nuys.
Oh, and a wild one it was, a very dangerous one as this went through Van Nuys and through Sherman Oaks, but that suspect in custody now after being pinned by officers. What a wild one it was. We will have the latest on the Fox 11 News at 5 o'clock. We'll bring you back to your regular program.
We interrupt our program for a Fox 11 News special report.